Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. The history of beekeeping dates back to the ancient world. Scholars believe it was the Egyptians who first domesticated bees in order to harvest honey and wax. With a pedigree like that, it might not come as a surprise to learn honeybees aren't native to North America. They were imported from Europe in the 1600s. Here in Vermont, the Mraz family traces its history of beekeeping back 3 generations. The honey produced by Champlain Valley Apiaries in Middlebury has been a staple in Vermont pantries since 1931. Chaz Mraz showed us around the bee yard some years back and introduced us to some of his busiest and buzziest employees.
Well, this is full of honey, but the top 2 weren't. This is all brood, cat brood. It's not honey. Those are baby bees. She's coming out. She's being born right now. There she is. She just emerged. I came home to take over the business from my father in 2004. And of course I worked in the bees in high school and things, and throughout my life being a 3rd generation beekeeper. Oh, there's lots of skill to raising bees. They're complex, and you have to make a lot of judgment calls. There's the queen. You see her? She's the mother of all these bees. They probably don't appreciate the disruption. I'm the largest employer in the state of Vermont, you know. Got millions of employees. Yeah, I got a great office. That's for sure.
For more information about this Vermont agricultural business that's been going strong for 90 years, visit ChamplainValleyHoney.com. We continue on the path of the pollinators to our next story, which brings us to Hyde Park and the Zack Woods Herb Farm. Jeff and Melanie Carpenter have been growing, harvesting, and processing plants for over 2 decades. They're stewards of the land, committed to their high-quality products and protecting natural resources. Across the Fence visited the Zack Woods Herb Farm in 2013 to learn about herbalism and the healing power of plants. Keith Silva has our story.
On a warm summer morning, a stand of echinacea bristles with bees. Echinacea is important in the garden because it promotes pollinators. The insects flitting from flower to flower keep things growing, healthy, and alive. The echinacea, grown at Zack Woods Herb Farm in Hyde Park, is prized for another benefit: medicine.
An average echinacea root probably weighs dried about maybe between 2 and 4 ounces. We expect out of this crop of echinacea to get maybe 100, maybe 150 pounds. So we should call Free at Buffalo Mountain Co-op and ask him if he's ready to receive some of this garlic.
Great.
Since 1999, Jeff and Melanie Carpenter have been growing herbs used to make botanic or herbal medicines and medicinal teas. Theirs is a marriage of farmers and herbalists.
My dad's side of the family were dairy farmers, and I sort of grew up, going to the farm and visiting the farm, and was always intrigued by that, and loved the tractor and the scenery and the whole thing. And for a while there, I sort of left the agricultural world, not ever thinking I'd return, but I knew it was always in my blood, and so I came back, and this is what I do, and this is what I love to do, and this is what I'll always do. As difficult as it is and as challenging as it is, this is what I do.
Well, I was really fortunate growing up. I was raised in a family that had rich traditions of herbalism. I was raised by my stepmother, Rosemary Gladstar, and she had been trained by her grandmother. So we passed that information on, grandmother to mother, mother to daughter, and it was really special. And so then as we were growing up, we just learned how to make teas, tinctures, salves, how to grow plants, how to identify herbs, and use them in our daily lives.
Zack Wood's herb farm is the largest farm of its kind, growing certified organic medicinal herbs in Vermont and the Northeast. Like any farm product, herbs are best when harvested at their peak of flavor and freshness, not to mention potency. After harvesting, the herbs are placed in a drying shed.
This is a type of basil called Tulsi. Some people call it sacred basil. This was brought in here fresh, and now it's dehydrated and ready to be processed for sale. It's about 105 degrees in here normally, so we can dehydrate herbs in as little as 24 hours in this facility.
Most of the crop is sold wholesale. The Carpenters make value-added tea blends themselves, which they sell through their website.
We're producing between 2,000 and 3,000 pounds dried material per year. But everything we dry starts out fresh, so it's generally between 75 and 95% moisture. So we're starting out by harvesting 10,000, 15,000 pounds of fresh material and turning it into 2,000 to 3,000 pounds of dried material. What we were taught as herbalists is the plants in their dried form should look, smell, taste, and feel as close as they did when they were growing in the field, and that's our goal, is to produce a dried, marketable material that has retained as much of the quality as possible, and we feel like we've met that goal.
The Carpenters stress quality control in their business. Much of the skepticism about herbal medicine stems from both fluctuations in the quality of the plant and a lack of consumer education.
Herbs are very popular, and it's a huge industry now, and there's a lot of money to be made in this herbal industry, and that's a good thing and a bad thing. I think in some ways, if it's done wisely, it supports a lot of wonderful growers and people that make products and people that are doing classes. So on this side, fabulous, and most importantly, it's getting people well and having them connect to nature. On the other side, there's a lot of things that are just being marketed that aren't really helpful and can sometimes be potentially harmful to people and just cost a lot of money. And so that's where I feel like people just need to be well educated. If you pull something just right off the grocery store shelf, it's like anything. Where was it grown? How was it harvested? How much echinacea is actually in there?
As an herbalist, Melanie is asked all the time what someone should take to prevent an illness or some discomfort. Her homespun wisdom is simple. Listen to your mother and your grandmother.
One of the things that people that grew up in the last generation, they used to be much more connected to the land, and so they knew to make spring tonics of dandelion leaf. They would harvest those and just eat them as their salad greens, and they also knew to pick elderberry or to make switchel, and different things that were just traditional ways of using plants and ways to eat your medicine. And they just did that, and so now it's really become with studies and classes and become very polished. But you go back to the old timers, and they know. Oh, I knew that. You should have asked me. You didn't need to take all those classes. You could have just come back here, honey. And so that's really fun to me.
Herbal medicine, or herbalism, predates human history. It's only within the last 200 years, due to advances in science, that modern medicine has become more removed from its herbal roots. Many pharmaceuticals physicians use today, like aspirin, quinine, and opium, have been used as herbal medicines for millennia. The World Health Organization estimates that 80% of some Asian and African countries use herbal medicine as some sort of their primary health care.
This is Calendula officinalis. This is a flower that's in the marigold family.
In terms of their own health care, Melanie and Jeff Carpenter take an all-inclusive approach to their health.
Modern technology has definitely changed the face of medicine, and there's more of a silver bullet approach. You know, if you get sick, you take a pill to either, you know, help you feel better or to mask the symptoms, whereas herbal medicine is more of a preventative approach. And we're trying to encourage people to dovetail the two worlds. In a real acute situation, we definitely recommend people going to see their physician, but for a more preventative, health-centered, nourishing the body approach, we encourage people to use herbal medicine.
We are at a great crossroads where there are so many options. We're really fortunate. We don't just have to use herbs or our home remedies, and we don't just have to use heroic, you know, hospital medicine. We have all of these choices in between. So just like you don't use a screwdriver when you need a hammer, you pick the tool that is at the right tool for the job. So for building wellness, getting rid of stress, I use herbs for that all of the time, and including when I'm really sick. But if I get in a car accident and I break my leg, I'm headed to the doctor. And I think that that's where when we get into dichotomies, one or the other, we're at a real loss. I think it's much better to blend them and take what's best from all of it and utilize it well. I don't think you should choose one or the other. I think you should have it all. Yeah.
Back in the echinacea, the bees continue their work. They move from flower to flower, not favoring one over another. They take it all in. It's a holistic approach, and perhaps a lesson from the insect world that applies to the human world as well. In Hyde Park, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
Visit Zack Wood's herb farm on the web at the address on the screen. There you'll find out about teas, tinctures, and all things herbal, including Jeff and Melanie's book, The Organic Medicinal Herb Farmer. And that's our show for today. Thanks for joining us Across the Fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. Stay well.